Hi friends, it's Johnny down on the farm at Auerfarm, and today I wanted to do a little planting with you. It's been kind of a cool spring, so we've done some of our seeds inside to get them started, and I thought it might be a fun project for you to do at home because you really don't need much. So as you can see on this table, I have some items that I've recycled, and you might have these. So think about what you have and how you want to use it, and I'll give you some examples. This had cherry tomatoes in it, and this is a wonderful container because it has some holes already in it, and there's a hole in the top so air gets in. And we'll start by planting this. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of soil. If you have potting soil, that's fine. If you have seed starter, that's even better. Next week we'll do a lesson on different types of soil, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to put a little soil here. This is so simple. Kind of put my pinky in about a quarter of the way. I can probably fit about 3 different seeds in here. You don't want to crowd them because as they grow, the roots will spread out and they need space. So we know that flowers and seeds need space. They need water. They need sun. They need air. And so I'm going to put a seed in each one of these holes. These are marigolds, which are one of my favorites because you can put them along the edge of your vegetable garden and it keeps the pests like rabbits out of your garden. So I'm just going to cover these lightly. I tuck them in just lightly, and I'm just going to give it a couple of sprays. You don't want to overwater. If you have a watering can like this is great, but very little amount of water. You're going to have to check it, especially with this type of a planter because the air gets in it. And you can just put this in a warm spot until it sprouts. And once it sprouts, you're going to want to put it in a sunny place. But they don't need sunlight until they sprout, so that's important. So that's one way of doing it. I also pulled this container, and this is more like a greenhouse because you put the top on and there's no air, but you need some air. So what I did was I poked some holes in the bottom of this, little X's. I'm going to show you how I did that. I took an X-Acto knife, and if kids, you want to do this with your parents, you're just going to put a little indent and then cross it, like a little crisscross. And just get some punctures in there so water can drain out. And I probably put about 10 along the bottom. I started earlier. And with this one, like I said, you don't have the air coming in and out like the other one, so you won't have to water it as much, but you also want to make sure that it is getting a little bit of air. If it gets all cloudy and you can't see what's inside, then it's time to probably open it up for an hour or so, let it dry out, and then close it. So I'm going to put some snapdragons in this one, and this is a little bigger, so I'm going to make about 6 of those little indents. And snapdragons are beautiful flowers, but the seeds are tiny. So sometimes it can be really tough to know that you're just planting one, and if you get too many, that's okay. You can weed them out later because again, even though they're tiny now, they need space to grow. So I'm going to cover these over and spray them a little bit and cover them up. So those are 2 very easy planters. Another one that might be fun to do, this had fruit in it. This has multiple sections. So you can plant multiple things in here. So as you can see, I labeled with masking tape on each section so you could plant different seeds and remember what you planted. You also always want to put the date when you started it, so that you can see when it's going to germinate and start to sprout. And on most of these seed packs, they'll tell you when it's supposed to germinate, so you can keep an eye on how it's developing. A few others fun to do are egg cartons. Egg cartons, you can just take off the top. Again, you're going to put a little bit of soil in the bottom, probably about 1/3 of the way, and you can plant these. And the nice things about these is they get soft as you water them, and when they're ready to be transplanted in your garden, you can just section off one of the egg sections like this, And you can plant it right in the ground because it will disintegrate over time. So that's a fun way to plant. 2 more quick ways, paper towel or toilet paper tube. I've cut it in half. I have stuffed a little bit of newspaper in a ball in the bottom. Again, that will disintegrate over time. I'm gonna put some soil in there. Just like that. Again, you want it on a tray because after time it will kind of leak through, and that's fine. And you can put a seed right in here. You watch me plant. And you can just water it. When it sprouts, you can put the whole thing in the garden, or you can pull the tube right off. And last of all, if you don't have any of these recyclable items, you can always use a paper cup. And I prefer, like I did with the plastic containers, to just put a little drainage in the bottom by poking little holes. And you can plant right in this cup. They're wonderful. You can just put them in a warm place, like I said, and when they're ready to, when they start to come out of the soil, put them in a sunny window. Depending on what it is, usually when it's about 3 inches high, you can transplant it in your garden. And by that time, it should be warm enough to have your plants outside. So I hope you learned something about planting in different containers, and I'm really glad you joined me today on the farm. Have fun.